Welcome to Accounting High.
Pandora's box has been opened. People see what it can do now. It's understandable that people are scared. Like, what if it takes away my job? That doomsday scenario in tech, so much could be replaced by AI.
We're talking about something that is doing what a human can without the soul.
Yeah, that's what AI is, literally and figuratively.
Listeners, you will be replaced by a soulless machine.
Yeah. Hey, I remember server systems with tech allowances, fintech vendors with some cloud outfits, but now low coding this computer science for accountants. In fact, I'm remoting in new tools, paperless, asynchronous for data analysts, APIs to find all your SaaS apps connected, cloud computing plugins for your implementation, automate technology to leverage the meta, disrupt your desktop, then break it down. We sharing metrics, AI to the GPT to the AI disrupt. Bitcoin, Ethereum, and crypto agents disrupt. Time to tweak your tech team and make some changes disrupt. If my staff quit, I still have automation disrupt. The lab is ready, it's tech time, yo. Glitch, it's tech time. Disrupt, it's tech time. Disrupt, it's tech time at Accounting High.
Introducing the star of our show.
Scotty and Andy Lacease.
We're gonna have a problem here.
That rap's so good.
You like that?
That's so good.
Yeah, well, class is in session. Thanks, homie. Students, you're in for a treat. We've got Andrew Lacease. I like to call him Andy Lacease. That's what his ex-girlfriend used to call him.
I told you that.
Andy's here with us, coming to us from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, orbiting in the tech space around us for a while now. Andy has run his own tech for accountants business. It's an IT company. He grew that IT company to almost $6 million and then has recently just been acquired by somebody you might know, Rightworks. So he's sort of orbiting around Rightworks now. Still tech for accountants, still running his own company alongside a much larger company. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about AI today. We're going to talk about technology, cybersecurity. But first, we're going to start with Andrew Lacease. Andy, how did you get into this accounting space? How did you focus on accountants in the first place?
So, like, once upon a time, let's go back 2009, I had to do an internship in college, and I was actually part of the VITA program, so Volunteer Income Tax Associate.
I don't know what the A is.
So I got like hands-on experience doing it. I mean, it's for like low-income families, so most of it was just like standard deduction and stuff. But I got a little bit of hands-on experience. So fast forward 2019, and my own accountant reaches out to me. He's like, yeah, the IRS is requiring us to do all the cybersecurity stuff. Like, can you help me with it? He's not even a client. He's just asking like as a favor, right?
That's a pretty big fast forward. You just fast forwarded 10 years.
Yeah, well, I mean...
So from you were working, so let's at least fill in the blank here. This is, you built a company and you were servicing all businesses. Is that right?
Yeah.
Up until 2019?
Yeah. Okay. So then we'll rewind if this is like, so VITA program, just one tax season, but got a little experience in it. 2014 started my own IT company, Rush Tech Support, which I guess is still technically like the name, but nobody calls it that anymore.
2013, you stopped drinking too. We could insert that in there as well.
Yeah. So, I mean, we'll just go, let's see, 2009 and then 2010, my life was terrible. 11, life was terrible. 12, and then up to 13, actually early 13 was still terrible. And then March 23rd, it was like, I really have the choice to like stop or go to jail, and chose the former. And then my life, I wasn't actually trying to stop drinking. I just didn't want to get in trouble. But eventually I just kind of came to like the logical decision that was like, my life pretending to be a sober person was, objectively speaking, a lot better than when I was trying as just someone that couldn't stop drinking. And then just life kept getting better. Things kept falling into place. I'd been trying to work in IT for a long time. And so when I moved to Florida, I didn't have a job. And this guy was like, hey, man, go to this place. They'll hire anybody for sales. And so I go to this interview and I hand the guy my resume and realize I accidentally gave him my tech resume instead of my sales resume. And the guy's like, oh, thank God, you're in tech? God, we need people in the tech department so bad. I thought you were here for sales. He's like, you're hired. And so, like, that was the start of...
Was it a drunken mistake that you accidentally gave him the wrong one?
Maybe I was still a little foggy at the time, right? It was like maybe a month into being sober. But it turned out it was like this giant startup IT company. But it was like so crazy there that like I'd wanted to do this. And then it was like, how do I move up? And so I had like asked my boss, I was like, hey, you know, I want to work in like escalations and like the harder stuff. He's like, there's not really a spot there. And then I was like, the organization and communication here is so bad. So I had two bosses and I just did like a mommy daddy kind of thing. I was like, hey, Greg, Scott said I'm in escalations. Hey, Scott, Greg said I'm in escalations. And so that's how I like promoted myself in the company.
Oh, dope.
Yeah. And then
Right hand's not talking to the left, so you can talk to both.
Yeah. And then a friend was like, hey, man, we're starting our own company. Want you to run the IT department. And took the leap of faith and they went out of business. But from like the wreckage of that, I made a deal with the owner. And I was like, look, man, I'm already running like the whole company on the back end. Like we won't tell our customers that we're out of business. You keep collecting the monthly residuals and I'll keep doing work for you for free. And then after 2 months, every time the phone rings, I'll just say, hey, we got to update your billing information. And those people will pay me and the people not using it will still pay you. And that was the start of Rush Tech Support, 2014.
Wow. So you put down the bottle and you picked up tech and found the new love of your life, I guess.
Yeah, I was doing restaurants for a decade before tech, and I mean,
and sales could be anything. If you accidentally went into tech. So you started then selling what you were comfortable with and what you were growing with your business. That's how that business was born. And you're working with all general business owners up until 2019. Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't just an immediate like draw the line in the sand, but it was like my accountant said, hey, can you help us with this stuff? And then I realized like the IRS is putting on so many regulations and requirements, and it's like, dude, this company only has 4 people, and like putting this whole thing together, like it was just the WISP at the time, the Written Information Security Plan, and it was so much work. And I was like, there's no way that like firms are able to do this on their own. Like maybe we could be like the people that do it. And it was maybe 6-ish months into that, we would get a quarterly consultant just on the outside, kind of poke holes in the business, check our blind spots. And every question he asked, we'd be like, well, in Rush, we do it this way. But in yet to be named accountants, we do it this way. And he kept asking questions like, well, for Rush, we do this. But for the accountants, we do this. And he's the one that was like, you realize you have 2 companies, right? And it's like, huh. And it's like, and one of them's dying and one of them's growing. So like maybe focus on the growing one. And like that was the Tech for Accountants start. And once we kind of drew that line in the sand, like last year, I think we got something like 1,200 new firms as cybersecurity clients. And like one of them was not either like a tax lawyer, bookkeeper, CPA, EA, like someone in the accounting umbrella. Is just like, I guess nobody else wants to do business with us, but like niching, we got to grow in the industry. And like, I didn't have to be everywhere for everyone and learn everything. It was like, you know, there's maybe 20 different softwares that everybody uses. Let's get really good at these. And who knows, maybe this could turn into something cool. And it did.
So when you said there's 20 softwares that everybody uses, was that your way into becoming experts in those and protecting people from what could potentially happen with those softwares? Is that?
Yeah. So, I mean, it would be like an obscure troubleshooting thing. Pro Series says this random error, you Google it, it doesn't exist. We spend a whole day on it and then find the solution. Some obscure, weird, random, whatever. We figured it out. It took us a day. We documented it. A whole bunch of our clients are on ProSeries. So like other people get that problem and we click a button and they're on their way, not realizing like how much work went into that. You know, it's that like, oh, well, it took you 5 minutes to do it. And it's like, well, it took me 10 years to get it that quick kind of thing. But like we got really good at troubleshooting these same problems that we kept seeing over and over for the same clients over and over. A new patch comes out and everybody who's on Drake calls saying Drake has this error, da, 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 and like we're able to fix it, deploy it. So being able to like act fast really helped you. And so much of like who we work with, it's like status quo. You know, it's like, what did we do last year? We worked with them. Let's work with them again this year. And like, you don't give them a reason to leave, keep them happy. And, you know, it's just kind of
if you're
built.
not giving them a reason to stay, then you're giving them a reason to leave. So what kind of services?
Fair.
So it sounds like you were a tech support company that could support any accounting application that you're using at your firm. We're going to help support you. There wasn't a cybersecurity angle yet, or was there?
Correct. I mean, it was very, very basic. Like, hey, we could get you antivirus, some stuff like that. But what kind of helped us package it and productize it was the IRS put out publication 4557, which is like a giant checklist of cybersecurity things that all firms should be doing. And so we were like, we could make like a 4557 package. And like no one else is doing that. Like I asked in like IT forums, like who else is doing this? And everyone's like, no, nobody's doing it. And so then it's like, oh, is it a bad idea because no one's doing it? Or is it like a great opportunity because no one's doing it? Which it ended up being really
Great opportunity.
really cool for us. Yeah. I'm kind of surprised no one else is doing it, but like,
well, you got to think, you know, you said earlier, you said before we started recording that there's what, 43,000 IT companies, right? Or how many?
492,000.
Okay, so almost 500,000 IT companies. How many of them are focusing on accountants?
So there's like 4 big players. Well, now 3 since we were acquired. It's Rightworks, Tech Guru, and Practice Protect. Like kinda, like they're in that world. They're
on the other
Randy
side of the
Johnston.
world.
They are on the other side of the world.
Australia, yeah.
Yeah, so there's like a handful of others that are in that realm. But I'd say as far as the security side of it, that could blanket a lot of firms and not just like super specialized ones for like much, much larger firms. Like it would be Rightworks, Tech Guru, Practice Protect is pretty much all you hear about.
Yeah. Okay. Of that, you know, you're now a pioneer in this. You're one of the pioneers in this space. Of course, the things you're going to be doing, nobody else is doing. It's not like you're in a pool of thousands of competitors and you would be able to see that. So that's interesting too. So you start marketing this whole, is it the WISP? Is that the written information? Is that the IRS publication?
Yeah, they kind of go hand in hand. There's like different tracks for different things, but WISP is kind of like the game plan, and then 4557 is like the execution.
So for our students, how strict are these requirements? What is the IRS saying about this?
So the WISP is if you want a PTIN, you need a WISP, like non-negotiable. Like it's one of the questions when you're renewing your PTIN. So if you're doing it online, the exact verbiage, you know, I'm kind of spitballing here, but it's something I attest under the penalties of perjury that I have a written information security plan in my firm. But like most people don't. And 2019, when this started, there wasn't even like a template to follow. It was just like, you could kind of look here and like kind of look here. So like we put out the first template ever for it. And then a couple months later,
and what did you do with
Drake
that template? Did you give it away for free? Did you sell it?
Yeah, well, initially, you know, we were working with some other like influencers in the accounting space, and one of them was like, "Hey, man, you know, just sell us for like $20. You know, we could sell."
Who was
like
that?
10. It was Mike Rosedale from the PTIN directory, like ptin.org.
Oh wow!
And he was like, "We could probably sell this like $20 a pop. We'd sell a ton of them." And I was like, This thing's still so complicated that I'm pretty sure if we gave it away for free, people would still be like, I can't figure this out. Like, I'll just hire you to do it, would be like the next logical step. So that was the
So
direction
you saw
we
it as your
took.
white paper, your lead flow,
Exactly.
lead funnel.
Exactly. And you know, there's everything there to do it yourself. So if you're fairly tech savvy, take it and run with it, and that's great. And then for other people that are like, this is so over my head, what do I do? The people that gave you the guidance up front, so the next logical step in the relationship, could I hire you to do this for me? And so that was kind of like what got the ball rolling, and how we got maybe 100, 200 firms to sign up. And it just really kept growing. And then, you know, you get word of mouth referrals, and then we're at trade shows and stuff. So people see our name more and more. And then we're working with CPA societies, but it's niched and in one specific industry. So like, we haven't gotten a new dentist client in over 5 years.
Because you're not putting the Dentist Security Act out there or anything like that.
Right. We still have the ability to do it. But
Well, there's somebody else doing it, though. That's
There's
just
a
like an
million
accounting
people
firm that isn't focused on a specific industry. Well, guess what? Somebody else is doing that. And if you're focused on dentists, that's who you should be paying attention to. You shouldn't be focused on accountants, right? Like, so
Right.
that's a really good point you made, is stick to what you know and don't get distracted by the other stuff, and look at where it's led you. It's led you to growing your firm to astronomical proportions, and then getting a successful exit, so to speak. Not really an exit, because you're still heavily involved. Are you still... So tell us a little bit about that acquisition and how that came about too, because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah, they came up to me about a year ago, and they were like, hey, you know, we're looking to
Is it a private equity company, or was it Rightworks?
Rightworks, and they're backed by private equity though, but Rightworks is who came to me. And they were like, hey, you know, we're looking to grow. Like, you're really doing this like WISP thing. And you probably like behind the scenes, they were like, they're getting some market share. And like, we'll just, if you can't beat them, join them kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so we went through like the due diligence process, and here we are on the other side almost a year later. And like, it's turned into something really cool. And I was really on the fence with it, and, you know, asking a ton of people. And one of the vendors that I had worked with years ago, like, they were bought by Avast maybe like 5 years ago or something. And I was just like, this is my baby. Like, how could I do this? And he's like, well, what are you doing next? I was like, I couldn't imagine doing something else. Like, I love what I do. Like, I pay people to do all the stuff that I hate doing. Like, what else would I do? He's like, couldn't you just work there still? And I was like, huh, that's true. I could do that. And so, like, essentially, like, my role is still doing exactly what I was doing, just higher level, working within Rightworks, like getting us integrated into their systems, but still like growing the Tech for Accountants company, which right now is having its best year ever. So it's still cool to be part of it with the same people, same customers, same pretty much everything, just with a bigger name behind us, helping us grow even more.
Yeah. So talking about having your best year ever, you've been doing a lot of marketing. Most of the marketing I see is on LinkedIn. You've had a podcast for a while, and you're very consistent with that. You're also now doing parodies for using AI, leveraging AI for marketing posts, and you're doing parodies of popular songs. I love that. When did you start the podcast, and why did you start that? Why was that where you wanted to spend your time for marketing?
Yeah, so 2020, we had gotten round one PPP, and it was like, we just got a whole bunch of money. Like, we can invest in a really expensive marketer to help market the company. And long story short with that, it didn't work out. But like, his idea was start the podcast, and, you know, maybe you could meet some people in the space. Who knows what that could turn into? And people will at least see you here and there. Like, you'd be at least like participating in that world and give it 2-3 years and maybe someone will notice you in some capacity. So like all of his tactical stuff it didn't work out, but like that idea really was the springboard into all the other things that now we're doing. So hindsight, it's like, I'm grateful that he had that idea, because I had done a podcast years ago and like I hated doing the back end stuff. I hated editing. I hated like getting guests. I hated just,
Yeah, it's never going to work if you don't like that stuff.
yeah, I hated all that. And so he just came up with this great idea. He's like, why don't you just pay someone to do all the stuff you don't like doing? And just do the part that you do like doing.
How wonderful that is to just pay somebody to do the stuff you don't like doing. Isn't it great when you finally take that advice?
Right? Because in your head, it's like, but if that costs money, like how much is that going to cost me 5 years from now? We're talking tens of thousands of dollars. Like that's crazy. Just for this thing that we have no proof of concept on, like that. Oh my God. No, just let me do it. Like, but then once I stopped, it's, And I've been doing it now since like 2020, so 4 years of doing it, and I don't hate it because the only part that I do is the stuff that I like doing.
Yep. Record, have good conversations with the guests, and you're networking too while you're doing it. So I'm sure that's created plenty of opportunities, some that you may not even know of because there's people that are finding you through that possibly, and then going off and filling out forms or doing other things and becoming customers. You're also meeting people in the industry, and you're also creating a space where you have an authority. You're the authority now in that tech for accountants space that you created.
Yeah. And I mean, there haven't been a ton of like necessarily like, here is one thing that I did that exploded into all of this stuff. But it was like, a couple years ago, like met Randy Crabtree on it and then stayed in touch and then bumped into him at Scaling New Heights last year. And he's just like, hey, what's going on? Da, 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 da. Oh, well, I'm having a daughter, but hey, man, I love pizza. So, if you need someone in Chicago, he's like, do you know anything about AI? I'm like, I know a lot about AI. So he's like, you could be on a panel, Blake and Ellen, which was a really cool experience. And then someone came up to us afterwards and it's like, hey, I need help with all of these things. So it's like, it wasn't, well, I had Randy on 2001 and like that was my plan, right? That like 2.5 years later, it would randomly like turn into what it turned into.
It's never just one thing, and it's never how you planned.
Right. So like, I don't think that I could have gotten to where I am if that was like the only thing we did. But like you said, people seeing me in some capacity, knowing my name, knowing my company, and then, I mean, we get people that signed up as leads like 2 years ago that are doing business with us for the first time now. So it's not just going to be an overnight thing. And I think, maybe just the keeping with it was really what
creating the habit and sticking to it and not getting discouraged by it or not letting other external things distract you. It could also turn into a job if you're doing all the things that you didn't like doing, and then you can resent it and you're not going to get the best experience. But let's talk about AI. You're leveraging AI a lot for your marketing. What else are you using it for personally?
So one of the new things that we're doing, this is more just like an internal proof of concept. But what we're doing is taking a chat bot. So like everyone's familiar, like ChatGPT, but it's a custom version of it trained on our own data, which they put out their own version of it maybe a couple months ago. But this was before that was like readily accessible to people. And
who's they?
They, OpenAI. ChatGPT. Yeah, you can make your own custom GPTs now. The problem with it though, or at least in the past, was that someone had to have a ChatGPT account in order to actually use the thing that you created. So we have a different piece of software that it's got the OpenAI like foundational model behind it. But what we're doing, since we're growing the company a lot, and one of the things that I hate doing is answering the same questions over and over. And we have like the knowledge base written out. It's like, here, man, it's table of contents, page 35. Here's how you do that task. But people still just go for the easiest way, right? So they'll message me and get the answer, or message someone else in leadership in the company. So like I've built a chatbot based on our knowledge base. And like when someone asks me a question, like I'll copy paste it into the chatbot and like test how well it would give people the correct answer. And it's over 90% on like correct answers. So it's still not 100%, but like taking 90% off my plate and then just program into it. If you're not confident, tell them to message me. So I'm taking a whole lot off of my plate that can be automated, while still they can leverage me when it's necessary. So like the only time that I'm involved is when I should be involved. And then these random one-off things, like I can program into it so it doesn't come to me again. But it's just a iteration over and over of learning. And if we change things, I can put that in there. So there's always up-to-date information. So like the current thing that I'm geeking out on inside AI and like leveraging it in our organization, especially for new hires, because they're going to have a lot of questions and not everything is the most intuitive. I mean, I'm sure everybody has that in their companies where it's like, I know what you think you're supposed to do next is this, but because in 2018, when we made this decision, if you get conflicting answers here and there, like you should always trust this one, unless it happened in 2020. That's when we were using something else that was better, but it was too expensive. So don't trust those numbers. Like, look here, and it's like, I know because I was there, but someone new coming in, like there's so many nuanced things that are complicated. Like high level, everything's getting done. You know, the customer's not seeing that, oh, their file didn't update correctly with purchase information and license keys for stuff. But
accounting firms deal with this all the time. Our software doesn't communicate with each other. So you've got one set of data here and you got client information here, but don't trust that because you got to go into UltraTax. UltraTax has the, you know, we deal with this all the time. Mm-hmm. So are you finding ways that you can leverage AI to help fix that?
A lot of what I got really good at over the last decade was just no-code platform like Zapier. And then with ChatGPT, and this is stuff just like I nerd out on, right? Like I wouldn't expect most people to be like, you know what I should do? I should use Zapier to connect my apps, which that in itself is like pretty easy. Like most people could like click and give it a couple hours, like really understand how you could connect. Like
our whole firm's duct taped together with Zaps.
Yeah. They recently introduced that you can use code by Zapier, so you can have like Python code inside of it. So it's not just what's available by Zapier, but what's available from the software itself altogether. Yeah. So, and like I have a background in programming, so it was like, I don't use it every day though, but I know how to like talk the talk. So, you know, in comes ChatGPT at the same time and be like, write code that connects this with that and automates this piece. And then it works. And it's like, oh, cool. So not just duct tape, but like ChatGPT duct tape with code that duct tapes.
Seal.
Like,
yeah.
Yeah. So I think everybody's company is really just duct tape. It's just like how strong and good the duct tape is.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not like an epoxy seal or a new finish. But that's also what we're dealing with. In an era that we've grown up, we've always heard about AI in movies and people have talked about it. Now, we're, in the last year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, we've actually seen it and seen that whole, what we've imagined it would be like and what it is like. Are there any key differences or you know, maybe you went your whole life, you've been working in tech, you've kind of seen this maybe from behind the scenes, so it's not that big of a jump for you. But are there things that it's doing that even surprised you?
So what's actually kind of what ties into this pretty well is I took a online course at MIT on AI, right? But like the course had been pre-recorded. So a lot of the information, you know, you're talking to like the smartest people in the world on these topics. But it was like 2019, 2020. So like way before ChatGPT was in people's hands. So they're talking about conceptually and like making projections on things. And they're saying stuff like, I just really don't see self-driving cars really ever happening. And like I press a button in my Tesla and like that happens now. Or like getting it really into the public's hands. Like I can't really imagine how an everyday person would be able to leverage this. And in comes ChatGPT, and then so much money behind it. And then, you know, the competitors coming out and everybody's kind of like figuring out their place in the chatbot world. And behind the scenes, people had seen all this thing. You could ask it to write a program and it does like this. But, you know, there's so often you'll see something in the news about something that's going to happen and it never does, or it fizzles out, or like the piece you saw was very, very like micro. Because I had learned about ChatGPT or GPT-3 pre-COVID. I remember I was talking about it with someone in our office. So pre-COVID, it's like, man, this thing's crazy. It can like write code and like really smart. Like, I mean, I don't know what's going to happen here. That would change the world though. And you know, here we are now. Because it's just like how the internet existed years and years before like Netscape, Mosaic, AOL. But then once it got into the public's hands and people understood what this thing was, then it took off. So all the AI, it's existed, not as good as it is now, but it wasn't in the hands of the public. And, you know, we initially had that burst of, oh my gosh, this can do anything. It'll change the world. And then people were like, wait a second, it can't do anything. It just talks like it can do anything. So the big takeaway in the course that I was taking is that like you can use AI to take care of low level tasks. If something goes wrong, it's not going to be devastating. So like a self-driving car, you can't accept 95% good enough on a car, because if something goes wrong, it could be fatal.
You can't accept 99% chance.
Right.
This is like the Dumb and Dumber. That 1%
Right,
could
one
be
in a
fatal.
million.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
one could be fatal.
Yeah. You know, with things like that, it has to be super, super, super fine-tuned. But like us tech for accountants with clerical work and a new hire, if it gives the wrong answer, new people make mistakes anyway. We could train it and it won't make that mistake again, but it's not going to be devastating. But it's going to give me so much more time to basically be able to replicate myself, and my team gets faster answers, more accurate answers. It's going to be getting the same things over and over again. Say we hire 20 new people that all have that same question. We don't have to say, here's how to use the knowledge base. They just type it in, get the answer right there. And it takes all of that off my plate so I can look in growing the company, but they get faster answers. So they're not waiting for me to respond. I'm not annoyed by having to bring that in. So it's really about working together and the human side of it, checking, making sure that AI is not giving the wrong answers. And you can do vice versa. I mean, we've seen it with, it's like built into the software where it's like, oh, send them an email, like give me the bullet points and I'll type up the email. Or if you wrote out a full thing and you said like, make this more concise, make this better. It's really about using the human piece and the AI together to have a better result than to just be 100% dependent on, well, the machine's really good. Like it's better than anything we'd seen before, and it's only getting better. But I don't think it's going to be the doomsday that everybody thinks it is. Like every time there's new technology, oh, it's the end of the world. 200 years ago, 40% of the workforce was farmers. And now it's just 2%. But like there aren't
But
30...
we've got more food than we've ever needed. Like,
right.
We've got an overabundance of food, and we have 2% of the farmers.
Right. If you go back 200 years ago and you say 38% will not be farmers anymore, those 38%, oh my gosh, like tractors, they're going to take away, like ditch diggers. Oh, this is unacceptable. What are we going to do? But like computers didn't exist. That's an entire industry that didn't exist
Yet.
at all. So like it's not 38% are now completely nothing, nowhere to go ever. Things change with new technologies. If you can utilize it, work alongside it, it's going to put you ahead of the others and everything's going to change. One of those lines, change is the only constant, right? It's going to happen. Like Pandora's box has been opened. People see what it can do now. And it's understandable that people are scared. What if it takes away my job, right? But we forget that humans as a species, we don't just stop. It's not like, 2024, I'm never going to discover another thing again. So this is the end. Hopefully your job doesn't get taken because there's nothing else that could ever be created or invented. So that doomsday scenario, like so much could be replaced by AI.
So essentially what you've done is you've replaced yourself with a computer.
Yeah.
You've done that intentionally, though. You didn't go out and get displaced like the farmers did. You said, we're spending way too much time doing this. Let me replace what I would do. And it's probably going to be very seamless from the customer experience, or even better. It'll be a better experience for them because they won't have to use the human time to look things up or think about something and reply. It's spitting out a reply from the data given, which would have been the data that's in your head anyway.
Yeah. And I mean, you hear a lot about, building out your SOPs and things like that. And, people, they'll sit down for a couple hours and do a brain dump and be like, oh, I should have done that a long time ago. But, just kind of dipping toes in the water. Like we're not doing it customer facing yet, but we're doing it internally just to make sure that we get it right 100%. Because, frankly, I thought it would be like a couple hours of work, and it's been a couple weeks to get it to being close enough to replace me. I still haven't rolled it out. I'm just testing on the back end. Every time I get a message, I see what it would have said, and then give them the either copy paste from what the correct answer was or load it into the knowledge base so that next time it's asked, I won't have to answer that question again.
So it sounds like we almost kind of scripted this based on the way you were talking earlier. Your conversation, you said, well, if this person asks this about this, then we can now answer it for the rest of those clients, right? You were documenting your support tickets and you were creating a system around answering repeated questions. And so you could answer them a lot quicker, right? And you adapted that into leveraging the tech, and that whole database that you have of answers, you've now created a model that can do that. It's by itself too. And that is the best use of AI that there possibly could be, because you're intentionally replacing yourself. Everybody's worried that AI is going to take our jobs. We're going to be replaced by computers. Well, guess what? It's true. It's happening. We are going to be replaced by computers, but it's by design. We're doing it on purpose.
Yeah, and it's happened in the history of accounting. Like Excel comes out, right? And TurboTax comes out, and like it does take away some clients. But frankly, I'd be willing to bet the person who stops using you and uses TurboTax instead to do it themselves, A, is going to get it wrong or it'll be worse, and B, it probably wasn't this fantastic client that was paying so much to begin with. Is probably someone that's like a basic 1040 whatever kind of client that's like, oh, I could do this myself. Because like I even have experience. We're talking over a decade ago, but like
Vita experience.
Yeah, like I understand taxes probably more than the average bear. Nowhere near someone that's actually in it, but like I understand that like just because you buy something under the business and it's a write-off doesn't mean that it's free. Right? Like that's like
you understand the concepts of it.
Right. I wouldn't fathom trusting myself to do something where, especially if you make a mistake and all right, say it turns into an audit. Or like my dad, like he passed 18 months ago. And so like when I'm managing his estate, I get a letter from the IRS that his return was rejected, and he did it by hand, by himself, and he's not an accountant. And it's just like, what was your thought process? Like, that's worse than doing it for free by hand.
But that's right. But that's also like you doing your own editing on your podcasts, because you could save some money, and it's probably going to be the same result, right? Like it isn't even a fact of he's trying to save time. This is a habit that he's created over years, and he's saving money. So let's just take the extra time and figure it out. That's how most people are. I mean, that's how I am until I learn the hard way, until I screw something up, and I've wasted weeks trying to do something. I've screwed it up, and then finally I hire somebody, which I could have done in the first place, right?
Yeah.
That's what happens with people's taxes. They do it themselves. They screw up. They get a letter from the IRS. Now they got to go find a tax accountant to help fix their mess.
Exactly. Like when I first got QBO in 2015, it's just like, okay, connect your bank account, and here's the last 3 months of transactions. I'm like, oh, okay, accept all, right? And then just keep accepting all for the year, because like it's got an AI.
Because it already figured it out for me.
Exactly. And then I hire an accountant to do my taxes, right? But I was doing my own books. And I remember he said to me, he's like, Andrew, every year I get one client who's an atomic bomb nightmare, and this year it's you. And I thought I was doing it right, completely wrong. I had to pay him for a cleanup, and it's like I could have been paying and not doing it at all and having it done right to begin with, and saved the time, saved the money. And it's like I was self-taught doing it wrong. So it's not even like, oh, I really understand and I could teach somebody. It's like, I'm not good at this. And the time I could have spent doing anything else. So yeah, coming back around with AI, like you can replace yourself on low-level things that, frankly, my company's not going to get more revenue by me personally answering a question that a robot could.
Yeah. Part of figuring that out is understanding where we could replace ourselves. You identified that, and that's at scale you're doing it. You're creating it with a company with the resources of Rightworks, who's acquired you. So you get to do more with this. So there's a lot of applications or ways that firms can apply this to their routines, to their everyday, to their FAQs. But it starts with just understanding that we're doing this intentionally, and we're creating these tools to help, not to hurt. There's a large percentage of accountants that haven't messed with AI. You know, it's the same people that probably were hesitant to use the internet when it was first out, and they didn't have accounts. So you've got the early adopters, and you've got the people that are weary or hesitant. Then it will come in waves baked into everything that they're using, and they won't even know they're using it. So
Right.
I think we're starting to see that. We've got people using it on the back end, like your firm, where you're using it as a knowledge base internally to help answer. But then eventually it's going to be client facing, and you'll have a bot version that clients could do.
It could be, but the flip side to that, though, the same people that won't use it internally in their own organization, they aren't going to be stoked to talk to an AI. And even if you fine tune it perfectly, there are people that like, I want to talk to a person. You know, phone systems, when you call like Verizon, right? And it's
But isn't
like,
that because we've had such terrible experience with the phone systems? We already know that it's probably not going to work, so we don't even want to mess with it. With most of these systems in place today, you're going to be on pressing buttons forever, and then you press the wrong one and you're back to the beginning. I think that people have to have enough time and experience to realize how accurate this could be and how useful and helpful it could be, and not frustrating. We've already been frustrated by these hold systems and these bots that don't work, that I think that now it's going to take more time to recover from that.
And there's going to be the confirmation bias from the people that don't like it, where they will find one instance where it didn't work as expected and say, see, it never works. But like, frankly, I mean, when you hire somebody new, just because you're talking to them on the phone, like one of my jokes just in my life is like, pretend that everybody you're talking to, it's their first day. AI, it just keeps getting better and learns from its mistakes, and it doesn't.
It's happy to learn from its mistakes. It's so excited. It's like, all right, I'll get it better next time.
Yeah, well, it doesn't call out sick. It doesn't demand. Like, I had a guy at 3 months. We were his first like real job, and he asked for a 100% raise after working for us for 3 months. It's like, dude, you're barely working on your own, and he wanted a 100% raise. My mind couldn't comprehend that question being asked, and like AI doesn't take off or ask for.
Let's hold on, because softwares do double their price sometimes. There's like early versions, and then all of a sudden the price is double. I know LiveFlow did that. I'm pretty sure other companies have done it where they double their price. That's 100% increase there that tech does sometimes.
Yeah, but it's still, even if the technology doubles in cost, the amount of errors they go down, which are expensive, that's going to be reduced. And I mean, until the cost of it starts rivaling that of a salary or salaries, like you're still talking like pennies on the dollar for something that could be better. So the big obstacle, though, I do think will be on the customer facing side. Like someone like me, if I'm talking to a chatbot, I don't care. Like if I'm getting the right answer fast, I don't care that somebody actually typed it. Like I'm looking for an answer, and if I get it, that's awesome. But there's other people that are very, very on the fence, and I think they're putting out rules and regulations that like you have to disclose if someone's talking to a bot, because like somebody finds out like later on that it wasn't a person. Like it can really explode from the people that are afraid of it, and it's new. And so like I understand why people would be afraid of it. But at the same time, it's not going anywhere. You've got so many people embracing it, but it's really just learning about the proper way to use it. So like another great example would be like you copy paste the lyrics to a song and then say, make this like about accounting or tech, and then post it on LinkedIn. That's a thing you could do.
How many of those have you done?
50 maybe.
Wow. Okay. I've only done 21 parodies so far. You've done more than I have, and yours are getting really good. And I only started doing GPT on like my 8th or 10th one, because it didn't exist when I first started doing it. It really didn't exist. And it was just like months later that it came out, and then I realized this was a possibility. And then I started using my own techniques, but then filling the gaps with AI, where when I had writer's block and I couldn't think of anything, it would come up with better stuff than I could probably think of.
Right. And see, you're using it, though, as a tool to make what you're doing even better. When I throw something on LinkedIn, I have zero skin in the game. Like, I'll read through it and, like, come up with my own and, like, correct it. So, like, it used to be 100% AI, and probably now 75-25.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't sit down. My spots to do it are on a plane. I don't have distractions and other stuff, so it's just I'll come up with 10 on a flight and then schedule it out. Putting that out, if you're okay with subpar, which I'm just doing kind of a funny thing, so like if it's even wrong, like as long as it's not saying something crazy offensive, like it is what it is. It's not any part of anything.
Well, I'm just marveling at the ability to how quick it can do that. So the later ones that I started leveraging it a little bit more, I found that it works great if you're taking topics of general knowledge and putting it in there. If you're trying to do something really specific and make specific jokes, you're better off just doing it yourself, and taking the time to be able to do that. At least that's how I found. Anytime I do something that's very referential, the one I did for Bridging the Gap or the one I did for Scaling New Heights, I took people's names and had to fit them all in. and it's not able to take all that insider stuff because it's got to get in your head to be able to do that.
Yeah. I mean, stuff like that that's super, super specific, but take a couple layers back and you could do it on a topic. So not just on personalities, right? Because it doesn't know who everybody is. But it is a fun exercise if you GPT your name and see what comes out. Like it's actually like on mine. It's pretty good.
I've seen you do that. You've presented that on LinkedIn once before.
Yeah, but it doesn't have that information that's involved, or it's super. You're doing the one you did for Bridging the Gap, by the way, was absolutely incredible. Super, super kudos on that. But like, if you just said like, here's the list of people, and you're doing it about like what they're known for in the industry. My thing, it could be like, oh, sober since 2013. And that's like, yeah, but that has nothing to do with what we're even talking about here.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's a detail, but like you take it on a specific topic. So like, I'm just shooting from the hip, but say like CARES Act, right? You could upload the CARES Act and be like, make the parody based off this.
It's the best on stuff like that. It does an awesome job. Whenever, like I said, like if I have copy to work with or I have something that's existing, it does amazing merging all that together. It's just when you want to get really deep. If you want to go a lot deeper and put in some better jokes that aren't just surface level, like deeper things, that's when it takes a human. But that's like anything else with a soul. Right? We're talking about something that is doing what a human can without the soul.
Yeah, that's what AI is. And like literally and figuratively, right? Like it actually is just like a robot that doesn't have a soul. But like the self-awareness that like now is coming out, and they just keep making them better and better and better, and everybody keeps one-upping everybody else. Like the future of it, I mean, I'm looking forward to it, but obviously like I'm an early adopter and like really geek out on this stuff and really have learned ways to leverage it and have gotten better at like what should AI do, what shouldn't it do, and where we really should be having both working hand in hand, where AI is handling the stuff that's not crazy important. Or like another thing we had done on marketing copy. So I popped everything that we had written in there, and I was like, the audience is accountants. So here's what I did. What do you think? And one of the things that, some of the stuff it popped out, it was just like, okay, generic, whatever. But one of the things, it was like, by nature, a lot of accountants are risk averse. Like, what is your guarantee here so that the people that you're talking to will feel more comfortable? Oh, I hadn't considered that one piece. So taking something that is with soul and your own thoughts, experiences, but then amplifying it, getting it better, and checking it against someone else. It's like a smart friend where you're like, what do you think? Like that's really, really, really where it shines. It's like improving something that's existing, not necessarily creating from scratch.
Yep, that's what I've found. It'll get you past the writer's block to create something from scratch, and then you can make it better and it can keep enhancing it, but it's an enhancement. So I think to summarize, you will be replaced by a soulless machine. Listeners, you will be replaced by a soulless machine, whether you intend to or not. What Andy is telling us is take the reins and be an active part of being replaced by that machine, and find ways that you can leverage the machines to do what you're doing and to enhance it and to make it better. This has been dope. Give us one last piece of takeaway advice for our students at Accounting High.
Man, I really do think that everybody should try to flex and build that AI muscle, because it's not going away. It is the future. It's what like where we are right now. It's like saying what the internet's going to be when it's 1997. There's so much speculation, but like being on board I can't imagine a way where it's like, yeah, we don't do that anymore. Remember when everyone used AI and then we all stopped? I don't see that ever happening.
All right, let's party like it's 1997 then. Dope. Peace out. Class dismissed.
podcast.